Sebastian Vettel once said that every racing fan is a Ferrari fan, and he has a point. There's something special about watching the oldest team in Formula 1 at their best, but the last time Ferrari won a world championship was way back in 2007, and they're fast watching their 2022 hopes slip away. At key moments, Ferrari drivers have cracked under pressure. So what exactly is going on at the Prancing Horses that forces great drivers into making mistakes? Stay tuned as we dive into all things Ferrari and what they need to do to finally win another championship. Championship Days. To discover why Ferrari aren't performing this season, let's first have a look back at their most successful period. That was between 2000 and 2004, when the team won 65 drivers' championships in a row. So what was it that made them virtually unstoppable? It was also an era dominated by their number one driver Michael Schumacher, and the team built around him. When the German joined Ferrari in 1996, he was already a two-time world champion with Benetton, and he was able to take two of his key team members, Rory Byrne and Ross Brawn, with him. Together with team manager Jean Todt, this team helped recover Ferrari from third in the Constructors' Championship in 1995 to winning it in 1999. The next year, the Ferrari machine started their total domination in the Drivers' Championship too. Schumacher won by 19 points in 2000, then by 58 points, and then doubled his closest rival to win by 77 points at the peak of Ferrari's dominance in 2002. But it wasn't just Schumacher's team around him that won him titles, it was his consistency and ability to perform under pressure. He was known for visiting Ferrari's factories, completing long test runs, and total commitment to the sport. Schumacher's former engineers have talked about how his technical background separates him from many of the other greats. Close, but no cigar. So, is that all that's missing from Ferrari's success? A driver with technical knowledge? Well, not quite. There's one driver who followed the same approach as Schumacher, and also had a chance to win with Ferrari, but couldn't. We're talking about Sebastian Vettel, who fulfilled his childhood dream in 2015 of joining Ferrari after winning 4 world championships with Red Bull. And he came out swinging in his first year, winning the second round in Malaysia and dedicating the win to Schumacher. But Vettel struggled to maintain consistency that year and finished third in the championship. Over his 6-year stint at Ferrari, his closest chances of winning a championship were in 2017 and 2018. Both years, he cracked under the pressure late in the season. In 2017, he collided with Max Verstappen and Kimi Räikkönen at the start of the Singapore Grand Prix, which kicked off a run of bad results. By the end of the season, he lost the championship to Lewis Hamilton by 46 points because he failed to take advantage of Hamilton's mistakes in Mexico and Brazil. The next year was a similar story. Vettel was leading the championship until the 11th round in Germany, and after winning pole position, Vettel was looking like he could extend his lead by the end of the race. That's when on lap 52, with just 15 laps to go, Vettel locked his brakes and went crashing into the barriers. After the crash, Vettel put on a professional face. He said, "I don't think it was a huge mistake. Today was just one of those moments, and my mistake. So apologies to the team," but he never did regain the championship lead, and ended up losing to Hamilton by a staggering 88 points. What started out as a dream had turned into a nightmare for him, and his last couple of years there were spent being beaten by his new teammate, Charles Leclerc. When a driver isn't working out, teams look for the next big thing, and for Ferrari that turned out to be the young gun Charles Leclerc. He was so impressive in his first year at Alfa Romeo that Ferrari took a big gamble on one of the youngest drivers they've ever signed. But has it paid off? Since 2019, he's posted some impressive results for the team. 10 podium finishes and 2 wins in his first year before Ferrari's performance dropped off in 2020 and 2021. But back then, there was no pressure on Leclerc to win. He was the underdog up against the dominant Mercedes and Red Bull. This year, he finally has a championship-winning car, but he can't seem to put it together. Part of that is because of Ferrari's bad strategy. In Monaco, he lost a certain race win when his race engineer wrongly called him in for a pit stop. By the time they realized their mistake, it was too late, and Leclerc dropped down to P4. Then, at the British Grand Prix, Ferrari refused to pit him while they pitted Carlos Sainz, who went on to win the race. But apart from strategy blunders, Leclerc has made some mistakes of his own. At the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, he immediately dropped a few positions after a bad start. Then, later on when he was chasing Sergio Perez, he took too much curb and spun into the barriers. Talking after the race, Leclerc said, "It's a big shame. The spin should not have happened today. I was too greedy, and I paid the price for it." Just like Vettel, it was another top Ferrari driver making another costly mistake. Numero uno. One of the biggest problems at Ferrari is the lack of support. Team principal Mattia Binotto said at the start of the year that he would let both drivers fight each other for wins without interfering. He was confident that his team had the strongest driver pairing and didn't feel any pressure to pick favorites. But then 2 weeks ago, it was Leclerc who said that the Ferrari drivers afford to keep fighting each other. After the Austrian Grand Prix where they went head-to-head, Carlos Sainz agreed, saying, "I think today there was very little to gain or to lose by the fight. We're talking about 1 point more, 1 point less." But the lack of priorities in the team has led to results where they both have felt cheated. In Monaco, Carlos Sainz refused to obey the team's instructions and it paid off. Meanwhile, Leclerc was punished for following Ferrari's misguided strategy. And after Sainz won his first Grand Prix in Britain, Binotto was seen telling off Charles Leclerc, even though Leclerc's race was once again thrown away. If Ferrari look over their garage wall to successful teams like Red Bull and Mercedes, they'll see that they've been at their strongest when there's been a clear number one driver. Mercedes have had Lewis Hamilton, and Red Bull have had Max Verstappen. When they put their resources behind one driver, it's given the whole team direction. And if Ferrari look to their successful past, they can see the same thing with Michael Schumacher. Blame game. Without clear direction, there's been a divide within the team. If there was any doubt about the gap between Ferrari's management and their drivers, after the French Grand Prix, it's clear. Leclerc was leading the race when he spun into the barriers at turn 11. He took responsibility for the mistake, telling media that, "It's just me trying to push too much, and then I lost the rear. It's been a very difficult weekend for me. I struggled with the balance of the car." But according to former world champion Nico Rosberg, Leclerc might not be totally to blame. He said that the team should look through the data to determine if it could have been a wind or an engine issue and why the throttle wasn't working after he crashed. But Binotto was quick to point the finger at Leclerc, labeling it a genuine driver error. Now, the team boss says they need to look forward to the next race. He said, "Once again today we have proved to our drivers we have a fast car, and a competitive one. I think we're simply looking to Hungary. We need to turn the page and look to Hungary, and do a 1-2 there." That'll be easier said than done for Leclerc, who's watched his lead in the championship evaporate through team mistakes, engine problems, and finally, his own mistakes. But those mistakes would have had much smaller consequences if it weren't for Ferrari failing him in the first place. Targets. To be successful in Formula 1, you have to aim high. Every team out there is trying their best to win the championship each year. Well, that's what you would think, but you wouldn't know it based on some of Mattia Binotto's comments. Earlier in the year, he laid out the goals that his team have for the year. He said, "Our objective is to be competitive, not to win the championship. Being competitive is one fact. Becoming world champion is another level of task." If the team principal doesn't seem to believe in winning the championship, how can he expect his drivers to? Binotto has been credited with turning the team around in the last couple of years and adapting well to the 2022 regulations. In terms of mechanical, aerodynamic, and engine competitiveness, Ferrari are at the top of the table. But all of that means nothing if they can't translate it into real results. Without strong leadership and strategy, Binotto has left the decision-making to his drivers. And they're already doing their best to fight all of their rivals on track, so any extra pressure is leading to mistakes. If they want to get the best out of their drivers, then they should just leave them with one job: driving. Do you agree that Charles Leclerc's mistakes are being caused by bad management at Ferrari, or is Charles solely to blame? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.